Hello, everybody. I'm Chunky Vanilla, and today we are continuing our journey in the Backlog Chronicles by traveling through the back roads and maybe actual roads and taking a look at our second game, MUDRUNNER. Like last time, before I start talking about the game, I want to tell you guys about the developers of our topic for today, Saber Interactive. Saber Interactive was founded in 2001 in St. Petersburg, Russia, and it has now grown to a 13 studio worldwide publisher and developer for all kinds of projects. Their games include Warhammer 40K, World War Z, and of course, MUDRUNNER, which does have a series of games, including SnowRunner and Expedition, a MUDRUNNER story. They have 25 games in total, including 6 yet to be released titles. Travel across different areas ranging from swamps to islands, rough roads as I take you into the next step of the Backlog Chronicles. So you can drive or unlock through the different levels and a lot of unique attachments depending on what vehicle or size of log you're wanting to transport. You have to ford rivers, get through standing water in your path, and even drive through thick wooded areas with no path at all. To help you get through these rough patches, there's a winch that you can attach to any tree within a certain range around you just in case. The winch will not save you if you get tipped over. Ask me how I found that out. On top of the harsh conditions you have to fight against, you need to keep an eye on your fuel tank, kind of like a real car. Now, I haven't touched grass in a long time, but I've heard that MUDRUNNER is pretty accurate because it becomes light and then dark. But to help you cope with the darkness, you do get some really sick headlights that are really bright. Now, this game is an interesting one for me to grade. I had a great time playing this game, and I put way more time into it than I thought I would initially. But I want to be completely transparent before we keep going. I didn't play every level. I know. I know. I completed the first 3 and figured I had a good enough grasp on the game, so take everything I say with a grain of salt because of that fact. I do want to point out I will play through any story mode that any game has completely before I move on from the game. However, MUDRUNNER does not have a story mode. You just deliver things. So that being said, I love this game. It scratched a certain itch in my brain I couldn't quite put my finger on. It felt like going on a long road trip or driving around at night with some friends. Even though there were times where I was just slogging through long, muddy stretches, I was never frustrated or bored when I was slowed down because of how much fun I was having just completing these mundane tasks. I said I wanted to be transparent earlier, so I have something else I need to get off my chest. There's a stipulation to this game that I think enhances it to a whole new level, which is part of the reason why this game is so interesting for me to rank. I had to listen to music while I was playing MUDRUNNER, specifically rock music. There is music in the game that you can listen to. However, that wasn't enough for me, so I had to mute it and listen to something else. Now, you might be wondering, Chunky Vanilla, you said specifically rock music. What do you mean by that? And I'm so glad you asked. When I made the decision to listen to music outside of the game, I started with my normal rotation, and it still just didn't feel quite right. Then, like an angel descending from heaven to grace me, I heard some divorced dad rock pop into my headphones, and all was right in the world. Some things just go together. Peanut butter and jelly, mac and cheese, and of course, divorced dad rock and MUDRUNNER. It might be something from my childhood, but some good DDR, not Dance Dance Revolution, always hits while driving. Now, before I ramble on about divorced dad rock and being on the road for the next 15 minutes, I need to talk about the actual game. Specifically, I'll talk about my likes and my dislikes. First, let me talk about my likes. Even though your goal is the same on every map, filling every lumber mill with however many logs it needs, each map feels completely distinct. The bog was, well, exactly that. Super dense woods and a lot of waterlogged, muddy paths to slow you down. The island had its own little town where there were actual roads to drive on. The seashore has a giant diamond shaped road in the center that controls where you can go depending on if you have logs or not with you. They each added a unique mechanic to break up the monotony of doing the same task every time, and it works really well. Also, I know this is a driving game, but the controls felt smooth and responsive the whole time. I used a controller, which I do think is the best way to play MUDRUNNER. Also, you can choose between first or third person, which I found very convenient because I would constantly put myself in terrible situations that third person saved me from. I liked first person a majority of the time for my immersion, and I felt like I had better control in first person as well. Again, I know this is a driving game, but all the extra things you can do in the car were fun to mess around with. You can honk, you can choose between manual and automatic transmission. I tried manual, but it was a skill issue. I just kept stalling, which you can stall, and I had to be an automatic a majority of the time. Now, I told y'all my likes. Let's talk about my dislikes. My main gripe with the game is that I had to play separate music, which I know it's not a real issue, but the only reason this is a negative is because my rating for this game hinges on the music. The only other gripe I have is the winch, which this is going to be a little bit of a rant. This is going to be a little bit of a rant, I'm not going to lie. The winch gets me heated, and I did point it out earlier in the game that you can't, the winch specifically, but I'm going I'm going to talk about the winch. I'm going to talk about the winch for a second. It's convenient, sure, but you need to open a menu to attach it, which stops your ability to move. Then you have to open the menu again to detach it when you're done, which kills your momentum again, and that can get you stuck again. I think I've tipped over the most when I used the winch to get myself out of a bad situation I was already in. And when your engine is stalled after tipping over, you can't use it anymore because you need your engine to be on. Also, using the winch automatically turns on your parking brake when you access the menu, so you can't keep moving while you're in the menu because it turns on the parking brake. So you're just hearing this grinding noise while you're trying to get yourself out of the situation. I need to calm down. It's just a game. That was probably the most annoying part for me was the parking brake turning on automatically. It was useful almost every time. And there are sections where the winch is the only reason you can make it through, like fording rivers. There are some rivers where you can just raw dog it and go through no problem. But there's one specifically in the bog that I'm thinking of where if you don't use the winch, it just waterlogs your engine and you're stuck. So you do need the winch sometimes. But I just wish that it was a button that you can toggle on and off instead of going into a menu and stopping you in your tracks. That's it. Okay. Okay. I'm done talking about the winch. I need to rank this game. I need to tell you guys what I rank this game. Of course, as always, it's on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 being absolute terrible, not even worth the free that I paid for it. And 10 being I would pay double, triple, whatever I need to pay to play this game again. Of course, there's nuances in there, but when we get there, we get there. I'll talk about it more when I do the tier list every time. But I will rank MUDRUNNER a flat 6 without music, without the divorced dad rock, and an 8.5 with the music, with the divorced dad rock. And I'm giving it both of these rankings because I don't think it's fair to rank this game solely based on how I felt while listening to music outside of the game. Now, when I do the tier list, that's going to be more how I felt comparatively through these games. Like how I felt playing Lumberjack compared to how I felt playing MUDRUNNER and so on and so forth. So these rankings, the 1 to 10 is purely how I felt with the game in a vacuum. But the tier list is going to be more so how I felt comparatively. So even though the rankings might not line up, I'll explain it better when I get to the first tier list video. But the tier list is not going to have 2 MUDRUNNERs. It's going to have the one MUDRUNNER, and it's probably going to lean closer to the music side because that's what I listen. I listen to music, so I'm gonna go based on my feelings with the tier list. Anyway, I was rambling. I will say the only thing holding this game back is a lack of a story. Now, of course, I don't think every game needs a story, but when there isn't a story, it's hard for me to think of the game after the fact. Like the mechanics of the game have to be so perfect for me to think about the game after the fact if there isn't a story for me to latch onto. Now, I do think MUDRUNNER makes up for not having a story with how it plays, but it's more so just a vibes thing when you're playing it, not like a story thing, you know. Now, my favorite stat that we're going to be tracking is how much money is this? MUDRUNNER is normally $19.99. So after the first 2 episodes, my grand total is $32.98. I don't know how big this is going to be. I don't know how big this number is going to be. I'm actually scared. And this is just the free ones. I mean, I have a lot of these games. But I'm looking around at all these games that I actually spent money on, and I don't want to know. All right, guys. Now that we reached the end of the video, we have to spin the wheel. Let's see what next episode is going to be. All right, it looks like the next game is going to be DNF Duel. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please remember to like the video and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on any future videos from me, such as the Backlog Chronicles, my FTB Evolution series, potentially some more Rivals or Fortnite, maybe both. Who knows? Or really anything else I feel like recording and posting for you guys. Anything that I like, anything that I think would be entertaining. Of course, I'm going to upload it. But again, thank you guys so much for watching. Thanks for stopping by, and have a great day. And I'll see you guys next time with DNF Duel.